everyone. Welcome to the Lunch and Learn today. We're so happy you can all attend this exciting Lunch and Learn session. You're going to hear about the leadership secrets from Santa Claus, from his wife. Today, we have an evaluator and a person to introduce, Julie. Help me welcome to the virtual stage, Maria Angelica Deep. Maria, take the floor, please.
Yay. Thank you very much. Julie has been a member of Toastmasters for over 20 years. She claims to either be a slow learner or a tenacious one. Today's presentation is a Pathway Level 5 project. In a continual effort to hone her public speaking and leadership skills, she takes advantage of every opportunity to participate. She's involving her church leadership, a state woman church leadership organization, a widows outreach ministry, and has been a grief share ministry facilitator for over 5 years. She believes a good leader must also have a good communication skills to be effective. As she strives forward with her 5th Distinguished Toastmasters designation, she delved deep into her imagination for a new approach to captivate her audience. She looked at the famous icon for lessons on how to succeed, Santa Claus. Today's lesson will be taught by Mrs. Claus. It's all about the challenges of communication, management, and leadership for the elves and reindeers of a holy old man in an itchy, sweaty red suit. Are you ready for a few ho-ho-hos? The title of Julie's speech today is Santa Claus Leadership Secrets, as told by Mrs. Claus. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, help me welcome Mrs. Claus as played by Julie Caliendo, Distinguished Toastmaster.
Ho, ho, ho. Close your eyes for just a moment. I've got a secret. Ooh, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to get that secret from Santa's village. Look at Santa's village over here. Isn't that beautiful with the Aurora Borealis behind it? I'm so excited, but to open shop, I always have to get them started. Jingle bells! We got the bells going, yay! Ho, 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 let's have some fun. And I learned in leadership, if it isn't fun, don't do it. That is a very important principle. Make sure that it is fun. Today, we're going to take a little bit of journey around Santa Claus. That can be a big journey because he's gotten pretty big. He's eaten a lot of those cookies lately. He absolutely does. In just a moment, I'm going to bring up the story so you can follow with me. And I'm so excited, but I find it's pretty chilly out here. So I've been kind of bundled up, but there's snow everywhere and it's just beautiful and I love it. But let's go into Santa's workshop and see the elves at work. So come on in with me. Oh, there he is. He's sitting by the fire. And he's just resting his weary body. I'm leaning out of the way while the elves are working in the background. They're having fun too. But I had to turn their volume down. They get pretty noisy and pretty rowdy as they make these toys for all the kids. It's a pretty big business up there at the North Pole with a pretty big Santa, as you can tell by his ho, ho, ho tummy. So let's step into the world of Santa and his village, and I am going to divulge a few of his secrets. So let's get started while I share the screen and get into it. Here we go. Are you ready? Okay, let the elves know we're coming. There we go. We are on our way. Oh, isn't this wonderful? So welcome to the secrets of Santa and the leadership that he is actually using and practicing after hundreds of years of learning the hard way. Don't we all have to learn some of these things the hard way? I'm going to have fun with you. Questions are allowed all along the way. I want you to meet both of us. There's my honey and me, honey Claus. And the two of us are ready for rolling up our little coat sleeves and getting to work, planning our leadership because we have a new year right around the corner. Now, I want to tell you about his elfin good leadership secrets. So let's pull up these shirt sleeves. There we go. Because we need to start by building a wonderful, strong workshop. And when we do that, you should take notes at some of the tips, even though a lot of it's just common sense. And you may know it, but this will reinforce it. Now, in order to get the foundation laid about the workshop, I had to give you some definition. I usually don't put this many words on a screen, but I needed to put this in a compact place to begin with. And the main thing that we have to focus on with our elves to get the job done and get those toys ready and the reindeer ready is be sure that the elves and the reindeer know what they're doing, know the mission. What is our purpose? Then, as you spend time with them as individuals, you get to know their wants, their thoughts, their deeds, their work ethics. You get to know all these things, and that way you reinforce and keep the mission of what we're doing right in their faces, or in their antlers, or in their cocoa. And if you do what you're doing and it doesn't align with the mission, then don't do it. Too much time is spent doing things that don't relate to the mission and we get sidetracked, and we don't want to do that. So we want to focus on not just the purpose of what we're doing in the mission, but people. Good business is all about people. It's your people are doing the work, so take care of them first. And then the rest will come. It begins to fall into place. And I had a manager that did that when I worked at USAA in mortgages. We had a lot of information to gather. And rather than being rushed through phone calls and things, a manager said, it's about building the relationship. Me with you and you with the people on the phone. So you take good care of them, and that will take good care of us. That's my experience. And by telling me that, he explained what is valuable and important to him. And of course, as an employee who cared about what I did and what he did, it told me what my values should be, but it told me when I was pleasing him and giving him some peace in it. So if your elves and your reindeer understand your values, then they become their belief, and their belief becomes their behavior. That's a good secret to dwell on, isn't it? Now, I'll tell you more about his secrets, and we're building the workshop. Well, I'm going the wrong way. We went in the front door again. Let's go back inside the workshop. Here we go. Well, when you build that strong workshop, you've got to choose your elves and your reindeer very wisely. So choosing people of character and integrity and work ethic is very important to your success in the job that you're doing. So let's take a look at that and a little bit more about what's involved with that. And that is, there are 2 task lists that I deal with. And I really like this because I'm focusing on the leader, because if I have a good, strong leader, then the others will follow. Hopefully, doesn't always happen, but mostly it does. I want to know, first of all, define their tasks and the responsibilities, the duties, and things that they have. But then I need to assess, as a leader, their characteristics, the talents, the values, abilities, and attitudes. Oh, attitude is huge. I get more altitude out of good attitude than anything. And I want to make sure that they'll be able to get the job done. Now, here's a key to what we do. And this wasn't in, I've got this book that told me about this, and I was reading about it. And it said, hire tough so you can manage easy. What do you think that means, hire tough? Think about that. I'm very picky about the people I work with. And Maria, who is with us today, she's heard me say so many times, I only have smart friends. Because if they aren't smart, then I'm wasting my time. So my friends are chosen very carefully who I spend my time with. And I think the same thing goes for hiring tough. Who am I going to spend my time and invest my company in, invest the work in? That I need to be very picky about who they are, their qualifications, but most of all, their attitude. Now, when I promote the right ones for the right reason, I'm taking those good people that we have, the good resource that we have, putting it all together and saying, thank you. I see what you're doing, and it's good. It's good. Santa really likes to reward his workers because that encourages them to do more, and it encourages others to follow, especially the new little elves and the new little reindeer that come into the fold. So I want to be sure to promote the right ones, but for the right reason, not because they're popular, but because they get the job done and they do show a good work ethic. See, all of this is common sense. But when we get in the thick of the job and the pressure from above and all these different things, we forget some of these things. Hopefully, this will stick. Now, what we've got to do is get to work. We've got to make a list and check it twice. And we got to work and work and work and work our plan because it's getting so close to Christmas, our deadline. We want to make sure we've got everything in place. So we ask ourselves those popular questions, what, why, when, where, and who, and how it's going to get done. What is going to be accomplished? Okay, we're going to make lots of toys and lots of good things to make lots of children and adults happy too. And oh my goodness, why are we doing this? Think about the cause and the reason. Most of all, there are times when it's right to think from your heart. Look how we're pleasing. Look how we're making people happy and why they want to see us again next year. When are we going to do it? Our schedule is important. Where are we going to do it? Logistics. And who's going to be involved and do these things? And make that list to find out, will it actually get accomplished? Oh my gosh, Santa gets so overloaded and stressed out from all he has to do. And the thought of having to lift that big sack of toys and get it on the sleigh. Oh my gosh, the reindeer, it can be overwhelming to Santa. I know about the stress on my honey. It gets pretty rough, but we'll see what we're going to do about that. Now, I found that it's really important to listen to your elves. What are they saying? What are they doing? What are they thinking? I want to get to know them a little bit better because they're different. There is such diversity because there are so many different kinds of elves. And that's the beauty of everything. Open your ears to their participation and their buy into what you're doing. And if you ask their opinion and they come up with an idea, by all means, go ahead and use that and give them the credit because then you have their buy-in for the success of the plan. Now, one of the things that I learned is I've got to roll up these sleeves and get to work right along with everybody else. Because if I walk in their shoes, I'm walking side by side with them and saying, I know how hard you work. I know what you're doing and what you're accomplishing, and I'm right there with you. I have to pay attention not only to walking in their shoes and the job that they're actually doing, but I need to stop and think, what do they think of me? What do they think of Santa? How is he perceived? Some may say, oh, that bowl full of jelly, ho, 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 too many cookies and those things, and they think he's just silly. But actually, they see a loving man with a big heart that wants to make people happy. And how would I be perceived? I'm just the little woman? No, not quite. I'm back there organizing, administrating, and keeping him in line. Absolutely. That's a full-time job. By the way, I should tell him I really need a raise. Oh my gosh, well, we'll talk about that one later. Now, in your leadership, we really need to think creatively. We need to get beyond the red wagons. And what I mean by that is, oh, let's give everybody a red wagon. We did that last year, but not everybody was happy because somebody wanted with the wood trim, somebody else wanted just the metal wagon, and somebody else wanted a wagon that had kind of a seat in it. So we had diversity of opinions on all these different wagons, and maybe they didn't want a wagon at all. And I just didn't listen. So when you're in leadership, listen to what they say, and when it comes time to reward them, you'll know how to reward them. And I'll give you an example. Last week, I'm getting very old, and I had another birthday. Oh my gosh, another one of those birthdays crept up on me. And I have a friend, and she lives up in Scottsdale, and she was wondering what to get me for my birthday. Well, we were talking on the phone and I mentioned some things and I thought, I was so tired. I don't like my feet cold. And my feet get pretty cold here right now at this time of year up at the North Pole. And I like to be toasty warm. So I've got my little frou-frou on here so I can stay toasty warm. And when I opened the box of the gift she gave me, she gifted me with one of those wonderful, soft, furry blankets to snuggle on the recliner and pull it up. And it's electric. Plug it in and it actually warms up. Oh my gosh, my little dog Gracie just went wild over that. And then when I had to run out to the store, I came home, I turned the little blanket off, ran out on my errand, and I came back, and I know in the snow and the cold up at North Pole, and it was a while to go there. By the time I got back, I found Gracie snuggled in the blanket, keeping warm, even though it wasn't turned on. She found a way to nestle in. What my friend did was she listened to me. She listened to what I was saying. So I didn't even have to say, you're asking me what I would like for my birthday? I don't want to tell you what to buy me. But I expected her to know enough on what to get me. Well, this is what Santa does. He gets to know everybody so that he knows what to give them for Christmas. And as a leader, that's what you need to do, is you need to know how to reward them and how to pamper them, but also keep them in line as employees and do what they're called to do. But knowing that they are appreciated is so important. Now, we have a lot of change. That's the reality of life, especially in these last 2 years. Once COVID hit and all of our lives changed, it's so hard to deal with the change. So part of our leadership is helping people cope with change. And we have to work pretty hard at that recently and find a way to motivate, to support, to inspire, and encourage people in that state of change. One of the hard things that I came across in the state of change is that people have lost family to COVID. And how do they deal with the change when the head of household by either the mother or the father is gone, and they come into work and they're drained, they're experiencing grief, maybe depression, but we need to be sensitive to those needs of where they are and where they're not. That's part of our job as a good manager. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. Now, I like this part, and I'm all prepared, and I know Colleen is too. No, she was prepared. Share the milk and cookies. And what I did is I brought my cookies and I got my little cup of milk, and we leave this for Santa too. I hope you can see this on the Zoomifier up there, and we can have our milk and cookies and share it with each other. These are things that are encouraging and make us feel good. Give us a little sugar boost, will you please? And make us feel good. And these are hard times, but help everyone see the difference that they really make in each other's lives. It was so much fun meeting Colleen, and then she came to visit our club. I have a new friend. We're not done with each other yet. She made a difference in my life just by the things that we have shared preparing for this. And Maria, who's doing my evaluation, I came into Superstition Toastmasters a year and a half ago. In 6 months, I was president. Okay, I'm finishing my year as president. But Maria has brightened my life in so many different ways. See, we do that not just by being a friend or talking on the phone, but as we evaluate the efforts of the speakers, as we jump into table topics and reveal a little more of ourselves than we really want to. This is all part of our leadership training, our coping skills with life. And this way we learn how to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do for the person. But the only way you can really do that is to get to know the person. It's all about the people. So we see the difference we make, and we do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And for me, it comes in cookies. It's even a green cookie, if you could see that. Oh, yum. If I had a video going, I'd be munching on this now, but I can't chat with you on a mouthful. Ugh. And now, this is a really important part of our leadership, and that is you've got to find out who's naughty and nice, and that's what Santa does. Oh my gosh, there's always somebody in there who's going to be annoying. When you have a team, you have a lot of people. Your team can be 4 or 8 or 12. And when I worked at USA, our teams were usually about 12 people, give or take a few. But there was always somebody that was bugging, annoying, mouthing off, or doing something like complaining. Complain. We're just so thankful we have jobs and that we are taken care of by a good company. But I found that because I observed my manager, I learned from his leadership style. And when it came to somebody having a problem or being a troublemaker, he dealt with it head on. Deal with it early in the game. If you're a new manager to the team or a new member to the team, you talk about the cohesiveness of the team, the unity of the effort, and everything. Now, that's a good leadership concept, isn't it? Build the unity immediately as soon as it comes in, and that way you're avoiding some of the problems. When you look at the attitude on the Grinch's face on that PowerPoint, oh my gosh, talk about a bad attitude. And one of the tips that I got in reading about the leadership is coach the majority in the middle. We want to find everybody that comes together, find the unity, and find that center of everybody that's going to try to make everybody happy. Some people, no matter what you try, they are not going to be a happy camper. They're miserable because they have to work, period. And I realize that there are just some things you can't change, but you learn to make the best of it. You better find out who's naughty and nice. And that way you're going to be bringing peace into your team, into your people. Now, I'm not just talking about people who are employed. What about if you work for a volunteer organization? Or I was the head of the women's ministry at a church for 3 years. And I had about 50, 75 women that were involved in leading that in a leadership team. Not everybody was happy all the time. They were wonderful people. wonderful ladies, but there was always a challenge with one or two that we had to deal with. And what do you say? You're fired? No, they aren't even getting paid. I'm going to decrease your salary. I'm going to demote you. Oh my gosh, they're volunteering and giving of their own time. So that's a different perspective on how you should make sure that you're sharing the cookies and the milk and the good attitudes and all the good things to keep everybody in one direction. And that's the unity in the middle, like it says here. Now, for goodness sake, yes, be good for goodness sake. If I'm a leader, I got to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because I'm the example. Oh my gosh, to think that somebody's watching me. Oh, that's kind of scary because I'm not always going to be right on spot. I'm not always going to be the best. I'm not always going to have every day be a good day. So that's something that we need to watch out for, is that we follow the rules and set the example and treat everybody with dignity and respect and caring. And what is that saying? If they know you, they care if they know you care. And I think that boils down to it. And if I'm working hard and giving them the best of my effort, then it will draw out, hopefully, the best in them. And there does come a time when somebody's just not going to go along with anything, and you end up having change in your team because you have to let someone go. That's a hard thing to do. And I think in our busy lives, for me, working employed for somebody else, somebody who is self-employed, we do get that challenge sometimes. We get that challenge for sure. Now, let's see what we've got. And, okay, I was looking at the questions that were coming in, and Colleen saying, I ate my cookies. So we forgive her for that. Now, as we pull everything together here, I want to answer any questions that you might have. I realized after years of being in different forms of leadership, whether I was working in a church, whether I was leading a ministry, or when I was a banker for USAA and for Wells Fargo, I learned so many things by watching other leaders. It's hard. Being a leader isn't easy. And participating in organizations that people don't get paid because it's all volunteer, you have a whole different basis for rewarding them, for thanking them, for watching out who's naughty and nice. And I really had to ponder, do I want to be a leader and take on that responsibility? I think people want to be a leader just because they can be the boss and they get a raise in pay. But are you really cut out to be that leader? Because I believe a good leader steps into a sacrificial position. And by that, I mean, sometimes you sacrifice yourself for the betterment of another person. That you want to raise somebody up and encourage them. And sometimes that's a good method to follow, and just step in the background a little bit. And I know in helping with the church and the different functions like that, I was able to elevate and to lift other people up and encourage them in their positions, and I would step aside. Now, to survive and prosper, you have to be able to achieve big things. During Santa's year, Santa works hard. He accomplishes a lot. My sweetie, and I'm giving him a big hug here, he keeps me busy, but he keeps everybody busy because we all are aware of the mission. We are all working together. We are all cooperating as a team or a tribe, trying to get things done so that we can achieve big things together and feel that sense of reward for what we're doing, because we see success happen, even in a COVID year. I've heard of so many good, positive things happening in people's lives where I think we were witnessing miracles and didn't even realize it, as good things happen too. And you can't get all these things done that Santa does if he isn't an effective leader that impacts the lives of the elves and the reindeer and all the things that he has to accomplish. We're on that journey with him. And we have to be ready to say, ho, 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 and away we go, and get our jingle bells out and get ourselves rolling and get our focus, because we know it isn't easy being a leader. So I want to say this as I'm pulling everything together, that everybody's getting tired at this time of year because Christmas and that deadline is right around the corner. So we really have to work, come together, and just love on each other and enjoy the journey.
You have a question. You have a question, Mrs. Claus.
Yes, yes.
Yes. You mentioned that you have to plan your work and work your plan. What if your plan is not working? How do you self-correct? This is from Maria Angelica.
Oh, that's interesting. That's a challenging question. And yes, that would be a Maria question. Absolutely. When I retired, I had been so driven to work, work, work. And then I retired and I didn't have to work. What do I do with myself? I found that as I prepared to retire, I had a list of things I had always wanted to do. And now I'm not just talking hobbies, places to go, things to do, things to accomplish. So when I was no longer employed, I called myself being gainfully unemployed, because I was able to do all the things I've always wanted to do. And it was traveling. It was doing things to fix up my home. And I put a little more time into Toastmasters because that was a benefit for me. And a little more time in what I was doing to help others at church. I reprioritized everything, and I actually went back to playing piano again. So what I did with my time was always busy, and my calendar filled up. It was just done differently. And this time, it was okay to be all about me. Does that answer your question, Maria?
You have another question. Someone said they heard you were an author. Can you tell a little bit about that side of yourself?
Oh, that's interesting. I'm so glad you asked. Here comes the commercial for Mrs. Claus. Not actually. I am in the process and have started writing 3 books. One book is finished and is with the editor. A second book is about 3/4 of the way done, that while the editor is finishing up the first one, which should go to print in January, I'll finish up the second one, and then the third one's at the end of the list of what I want to accomplish. I belong to a Son of David Messianic Fellowship, and it's a church that believes that Jesus is the Messiah, but we go back to the Old Testament ways in some of the Jewish holidays and feasts. And I grew up in the Baptist church, and I never heard about all these feasts and all these things that they do. You know, wait a minute, it's Easter. No, it's Passover. Okay, the Feast of Tabernacles. What is Hanukkah anyway? I didn't understand all these things, and yet they were right in front of me in the Bible and what I was reading. So as I began attending their church, I took notes. I took copious notes. And before you know it, I had the whole annual holiday list figured out, and I put together a book for a beginner that helps them get started to see what these things are all about. So it's a beginner's workbook on understanding the biblical feasts and the holidays. And the name of the book, okay, you're going to laugh. I am newish Jewish. And it's because I am a Christian and I am now introduced to the Jewish holidays and the feasts and the values, and the beauty of it all has been wonderful. And I'm excited that this is going to be, that we're at the point where we're ready to publish. And the second book, 5 years ago, actually almost 6 years ago, my husband passed away. And in this story, it's a beautiful story because when we met on eHarmony, and we were 69 years old. We had been married before, and we dated for a year. We fell in love. We got married, and 9 months later, he died. I found the love of my life at 69 years old. Wow. And I went through all the phases of grief. I went through the complexities of losing a spouse, and what do you do with your life? My whole life turned upside down. One of the things I did a couple of months after he died is I went back to Toastmasters. I had stepped out for about a year or two, and then I came back because I knew I would be received as family, and I was. And it was so good to step in to that situation and come into something that was familiar. The first part of the book is the love story and what happened, because good things came from it. And the second part of the book is actually a workbook. And there is a chapter in there that do what you can do before you die. And what do I mean by that? Do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Do you have a list of all your accounts, pins, passwords, and numbers? Do you have it in a notebook binder where somebody close to you that you would entrust with that information would be ready if something happened to you? Do you have clothes that you would want to go to certain people? Do you have collections of things? Do you want to be buried, or do you want a cremation? Do you want a funeral or not? All these questions your family is going to have to answer, and they're going to have to deal with your bank accounts and credit cards and all these things. And I have a chapter in there that gives you a list of instructions, a checklist on things to cover, right down to how to plan for a funeral. Did you ever think that at your funeral you could have written thank you notes to some people that were very special to you, and you could have them distributed at the funeral by the person who will be in charge of that, or put something on a flash drive and talk to them as a final farewell? Unusual ideas that I put in there. And the name of the book is called Keeper of Broken Dreams. And God remembers the dreams of our heart, and He can walk us through those things. There are some other unusual chapters in there, like grief etiquette. We don't know what to say to people when they're grieving, when you go to a funeral. And it's much easier to simply say, I'm so sorry for your loss. But I had a lady that came up and says, oh, honey, you're still young enough and pretty enough. You can get yourself another husband. Okay, the love of my life died 2 days before. We're at the funeral, and I get a comment like that, and I was stunned. I was in those first moments of grief shock still. And I thought, I'm not shopping, I'm not fishing, and I'm not looking for a replacement part. And it was really hard to handle some unusual comments like that, other than saying, thank you so much for coming. But people don't know what to write in thank you notes, or they don't know what to say in situations like that. So I have a chapter in there on grief etiquette with some good ideas that helps to guide you through it. So those are the first two books that are already in action and will be out at the beginning of the year. I never thought I would be a writer of books, and I'm enjoying myself. The hard thing to do is to stay home and not do everything else I want to do because I need to stay home and write. Does that answer your question?
Sorry, I was on mute. She said yes.
Oh,
Next question. This is kind of strange, but someone heard us talking about the party that you had at your club, your auction party. And they also mentioned, did you request it as a new event for the Toastmaster Gives Back credit? You get credit for 5 special events, or 6 if you meet weekly. Have you guys seen that ad on D3? Oh. This is something that you should actually put that event on. You need to request to add a new event to the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
take a photo during the event. I'm sure someone took a picture of that wonderful auction you had. If not, put your group together, take a photo, post it on Facebook. If you had a flyer or anything, attach it to that D3 calendar. And after the event, send a message to DJ Reed or to the...
I know DJ.
Yeah. She'll help you guide you through the rest of it. But if you have this many events, those events, I think you can win prizes, 5 or 6 events. I know it's 6 events if you meet weekly. I don't know how often your club meets.
Okay, that's weekly.
It's weekly. So you have to have 6 open houses or special events. You can find more information on this on the D3 website, or email me later and I can send it to you. Does that answer that question? They overheard us talking earlier, Julie.
Oh, yes. Yes, that was the Christmas party at Gilbert Toastmasters. And they are on Facebook. They might have put some pictures on there. I saw people taking pictures. I took a few because I won the auction on that beautiful glass dish.
There you go. There's some tips on that. Any other questions for Mrs. Claus? No, Marie, you were talking about Maria Angelica. I hope I'm saying your name right. You were talking about her being on a Pathways level 5. Can you explain that what does that mean for someone asked that question? What does that mean to them?
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yes, the idea of Pathways is that while you are in Toastmasters, you develop your communication skills specifically towards and for a pathway. Some of us are learning more about mastery in presentations, others in visual communications, others in influence. So that idea of a pathway allows you to progress slowly and has particular projects. Now, to be able to navigate pathways, you have certain levels. And Julie is at completion of her level, which is level 5. And this speech is going to be used towards the completion of a project. So she's at level 5, and the speech will be as a check mark for completion of that pathway and level.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if there's no more questions, Mrs. Claus, would you like to say any more before?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a Toastmaster. I always have something to say. It's table topics. No. I want to thank everybody for coming. It was interesting sharing this with you as I studied it, which is part of our learning, our progress in Toastmasters is preparation for what we're going to say. And I learned that each time I did this, I was equipped at a notch higher level in order to communicate. So even your preparation, time you put into it, is an investment in yourself. And I want to encourage you to keep pursuing the pathway, each one by one to completion. It's a good sense of accomplishment that you have done all 5 levels, which the pathways all have 5 levels, and you work through those different steps and projects. But most of all, you have good feedback, not like college that says, okay, you did it, you performed, now you get a grade. Grade doesn't tell me how I did or get recommendations. Maria was kind enough to come with me today. She's going to give me an evaluation because she's an excellent speaker and she does wonderful PowerPoints and the presentations with them. So I asked her because I know, well, she's one of those smart friends of mine. And she will give me good feedback to say, Julie, you could have done this better, or I would have directed it this way. We have people that are there to support you in your efforts. You're not alone in whatever you're doing in Toastmasters. And that's a good feeling. They're one of my tribes that I belong to, a toasted tribe. But I encourage you to pursue till you complete a pathway. and then start on another one and work on it. And whether you ever achieve distinguished Toastmaster, which takes a long time and a number of pathways and different things that you do, it is worth the journey, because the journey is all about you. And remember, why did you first come? I came because somebody said, Julie, you need to go to Toastmasters. Okay. And then I analyzed as why, and he was absolutely right. And I'm glad that he made the recommendation to me. So I encourage you all to do your best and to give it everything. And you know what? There's no rush. There's no pressure. Just keep pushing forward. I wish you all a truly blessed and very Merry Christmas, and what you're doing to celebrate with your families. And if you don't, I wish you peace in the new year too. So God bless you all. Thank you, Colleen, for asking me. It's been an honor and a pleasure. And hopefully a little funny, a little strange, and you had some fun too. And I love your hat, girlfriend. We like our hats.
That we do. Thank you so much, distinguished Toastmaster Julie. This was excellent. And this will be posted on YouTube for those who would like to watch Julie later.